Imhotep,
Seneb.
Bekanifer, and welcome to the Père Ankemteuti, to the Academy of the Culture Noire Kemetic.
And the kushkamitkongo.
And today we're talking about an interesting topic, which is the rise of the cosmic consciousness and the evil master plan or the evil conspiracy to hijack it.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so today you're joined with myself, Kanifer Rakutinecha, and Baba Kinkela or Zulu.
Bekanefe to everybody. Usually I get the remark that I don't do much work in English. I think this is one of the few things we have ever done in English, if not the thought. And then we're gonna go through these deep explanation to what we all witnessing right now. Everybody has been talking about the rise of consciousness around the world. You know, it's over the TV. We see the Black Lives Matter, just to set one of them, to name one of them, and it looks like at the same time the world consciousness is raising. I will give an example, or for example, what is happening to Palestine right now. You know, I've been around, I see people with flag of Palestine, which already support the level of consciousness. And we had less of it when war was happening in Congo with over 60,000 killed people. We have less of it when the African people were dying, crossing the sea to get to Lampedusa in Italy. But what I cannot is now not putting any discrimination around it. There is a raise in consciousness, you know, it's a raise of consciousness. But my topic here is about something more advanced. It's not only the raise of consciousness that everybody is witnessing, talking about. My angle is about the hijacking of it. Why I'm talking about hijacking of it? Because these all come back or come down to the cosmic mechanic. And the cosmic mechanic is very particular. The evil never develop, never creates something for themselves. They always hijacked. It's like today we have computers around, and because of the computers and the technology that has been given to us, we have forgotten to develop our mind at the level to be connected. We're supposed to be to the age of connection, high level of connection between human mind. But rather we don't have it. We didn't achieve it. What we have computers that do the job at our behalf. It goes down to believing that we need something that is out of us to get there, you know. So one more time, when we go down through the rabbit hole when it comes to the consciousness development, and we witnessing in this period of time, what come across is like, well, it's true that in one side we have the cosmic consciousness raising. But this raising is being hijacked, or is in the process of being hijacked if you not pay my attention. And where the hijack is in the theory. I talk about the cosmic mechanic. When we study cosmic mechanic, we also have to add the consciousness mechanic. Now, the consciousness mechanic is linked to the heart. Very important. Why the heart? Because the heart can have the higher level or radiate a higher level of magnetic charge or polarity of energy. That means that our environment is impacted not by what we pour in it. As today we can see all the discussion around the emergency, the environmental emergency. But our environment is impacted by the level of purity of our hearts. What do I call the level of purity, or what do I intend when I'm talking about the level of purity of the heart? Well, when we vibrate in low frequency, we attract destructive energy, and the destructive energy gonna impact our reality. We're gonna be living in a reality of disorder and destruction. When our heart vibrate to the higher frequency, well, what we attract across around us is joy, happiness, and beauty, and beauty co creation, expansion of consciousness, beauty, happiness, all this high level energy. We were supposed to be at a time of a higher connection between humanity. We were supposed to be right now at the level where we have overcome the division due to race, religion, politics, and others. But what is the situation right now? We're not there. We are not there. So what is happening now? The evil, and are calling so the evil because it is the shaitan, the set philosophy, is using the cosmic energy against us, using the soul consciousness, using the soul awareness that we're having right now against us, by bringing us to divide each other, to tear us apart, but making us believe that if we are apart, we're safe. If we don't have connection to each other, we're safe where we are supposed to. We're supposed to be of the edge of my heart's high connection between us. But instead, we are not. And not if it was not enough, we have been pushed. We are being pushed. We are in the process of being pushed in self-isolation. Cut the connection. Don't talk to people. Don't talk to others is the way to save their life. All that fear that you see around, that's been building up for quite some time, and we're seeing now today with what is happening in Palestine, is bringing fear. And what people call sense of justice, of injustice or justice, is resentment. What all of these do to us? Well, they put us in low level of vibration. And with the low level of vibration, there is no impact in the evolution of consciousness. That's what it's about right now. That's what we're witnessing, even though we are now aware, but we should be aware of this, because it's important to you, it's important to me, and more than anything, is important for the future. Do want to share?
Uncle Justin, and I think it's something that's quite it's something that everyone can see, and it's something that's right in front of us, because as you mentioned, throughout the last few years, and I think since the 2020s have begun, what we've seen is the population, and in terms of, we see in large scales marches, people being against something. And we saw it even before we got to the 2000s, because we can even go as far as Extinction Rebellion, where we saw a lot of pensioners, especially in the UK, coming out in the street and actually talking about the silent protest and civil disobedience in order to raise awareness about what's happening with the planet, destructions and things like that. And then afterwards, you also had the Black Lives Matter movement. And you had all these changes happening. And then now you also have the Palestine movement. But I think what is interesting, or the play for me, is like, is almost like a distortion and a dystopia as well. There's something that we're not seeing. It's almost like we are like, it's almost like we have things being played in front of our eyes, but we believe that the fact that people are aware of it is making a difference, whereas not at the level in which it should now. Because if we go, for example, the issue, any of these three issues that are named, if we go to Extinction Rebellion, we'll see that in the last 60, 70 years, scientists have been saying we need to slow down on what we do for nature. We need to slow down. We're gonna do, or there's gonna be a big problems. Everybody have said, not just scientists, but we can talk into the. If you go to Africa, if you go to other places, when you have indigenous cultures, they will tell you, be careful because you're going too far. You're polluting too far, too much. Stop consuming. You're consuming too much. But we've not seen a change of that. We've seen what you seem to call like fake changes. So, for example, the diesel vehicles were seen as an alternative to petrol, and now they turn out to be one of the biggest scandals, right? And then you go into the Black Lives Matter, which I think is the funniest out of all of them, which is like, okay, so with all the movies on TV nowadays, all the movie produced between the 90s to today, we pretended as if there was no discrimination widely, whether it is in Africa, or whether it is in America, or in in Europe, or anywhere else, right? We pretended as if there wasn't any discrimination, there wasn't any colorization. We pretended as if all these issues didn't matter, and all of a sudden we are being wakened up to the perspective of what other people were going through. And then we do marches about it, but yet a few months later you see that the same issues are being flagged again. The same issues are there. There's no changes in terms of, yes, the policeman is going to prison, but that policeman is an individual who is part of a broken system. But what you see is that issue is reappearing again. But the people who did the march, some of them went to prisons, but the other ones also felt good because they did their duty, they did their part, they went outside and they talked. But then when you look actually in the conclusion, you don't see any changes. And I want to go even with the last one, with the latter, which is the Palestine one, the last movement that I mentioned. And it's one of the saddest one, because with that one as well, you have awareness being raised for what we're talking about, 60 years, over 60 years now, over 50 years at least now. Awareness have been raised as to the problem between the two fractions, between Israel and Palestine, between the abuse and also between the attacks and the destruction of Palestine, let's be honest. So awareness has been raised in the last 50 years. And to be honest, I seen some of the pictures that were going around online recently about the Palestine problem, but I realized that these pictures were on the net in the last 2 years as well. At least in the last 2 years, I remember seeing them. So it's not something new. It's not something new in that the problems were there before, and people did protests, people did marches, people talked about it. But we as human beings have forgotten our power as human beings. We have forgotten the power of the heart. We are left using the power of protest. We've been told that protests are the way forward. And yes, it is a way to divulge an idea, but the protest also divulge a lot of the anger, the sadness, the anguish, but the element which is the art, which is our heart, which is the element that makes us the most human, the elements that connect, that's supposed to be connecting us at this stage, where we're supposed to have the expansion. We're not having that expansion. We're not expanding our field, our heart field. We're not expanding. We're not connecting our brain, our heart, and we're not connecting our emotions. We're not connecting. We are distancing, but we are also destroying as well. But this destruction is becoming just a destruction, but it's not a rebuilding. And I think for me, that's where the hijacking really, the hijacking is clear, because you could see how more and more of us care. More and more of us really want our voice to matter, our voice to be heard, and more of us scream louder than ever. But yet, when you look at the fruits, when you look at the solutions, when you look at the advancement, you see that it's very little.
Yeah, very little, because the principle of a protest is basically asking the authority to do something about it. The principle of the protest is not you taking charge. It's not you taking responsibility. It's not you saying, listen, now we have to do something and let's do it, or let plan to do it. The principle of process is what I say, the label it, raise awareness, but it's more or less you calling the authority to come to do something than is you calling someone else to do something. This process of you calling someone do something is disempowering. Is you not recognizing your own power, what we do. But at the same moment, something very specific happen. When you calling, every time you calling to someone to do something about something you feel not right, you bringing frustration into yourself. You're frustrated, you're confused. And this is low level vibration from your heart. You're using your magnetic power. You're using the magnetic charge of your heart to call about a very low level vibration. And that vibration word is multiplied by a lot of people that the impact we have today. In the past, we didn't have the communication technology, so an impact on something, the negative impact, even though it's conducted on somewhere, is very limited. Today, you have it all around the world. So the technology of communication have did that, that was been used for. So the low intensity energy from the earth is so high. Is so high that we have become the antithesis ourselves. We trying to achieve beauty, but we being stressed about it. We try to achieve greatness, but we are close in our doubts. We are close in our frustration. And then before we understand it, the word that is coming into manifestation is the one of frustration and destruction. And one more time, when it looks to what is happening as precise to the last 10 or 20 years, we can see the constant increase of destruction. And we might think that the destruction is coming from outside. Then we forgot that we are the cause of it, because we lie down and give away our power, the power from the earth. In ancient time, when someone is sick, you go visit the sick person. Why? Very basic understanding of science, natural science. When you go visit someone is sick, you get contaminated. The more contaminated you are by the same disease, the disease dilutes itself and lose its power. You accept it. But if you go find someone frustrated about the situation, crying about what is happening to him, that person, you overcharging that negative energy. You overcharging the disease in that person, and that person might die, actually, might get sick. But when you go to someone, you laugh about it, you think it's gonna be better, you wish him better. So now, this is the power of the heart. The simple fact of wishing better to someone is a very great power that we need to harvest in this time of existence. We need to be able to harvest the good in us and bring it out there. This is a very powerful power that we all have, that can change the world over time, overnight. But most of the time, we have been taught to use it destructive, in a very destructive way. Uncle Jasenab.
I think that message is very important, which is to remember the power that we hold, to remember that we are all powerful and all-knowing. We should be all-knowing beings as well, and we should be connected beings. And in terms of this evolution, we should not forget the power that we have, not only as individual, but also as a collective, as a community, the power that we have as a community, as a people, but also the power that we have as in that recognition and in that love and in that compassion. Because the very important thing is always to remember that if so many are going out on the street, it's because of that compassion, and it's because of that love and that recognition, and also understanding that we are one, and many of the things that we see shouldn't happen. Therefore, it's very important for us to be very focused into what we are trying to achieve, and also focus into the era, the moment, and the time that we are going through, and the change is happening as well, so that we can change and we can evolve with what's around us. And I think it's a great moment as well right now. It's a great reflection moment, because everything has slowed down, and for so long most of our distractions were taken away, and in many cases one big distraction remained for people. And in some cases as well, we could really remove that big distraction and actually focus on that self and focus on the community, because it's important to understand that without a community we are nothing. But also in that community as well, we should all lead with the heart. We should all focus with this energy of our heart that's coming out, and also knowing how to nurture it and knowing how to respond with the energy that led us to stand up in the first place. We stand up not often because of anger, but we stand up because we hear the human cry. We feel the compassion. We feel the love for the other human being. But in our response, we should also respond. We should also respond with that love that we feel. We should also respond with that emotion that we feel for our fellow human being, and not forget that, and not get confused with all the noise around, and not get confused with the hijacking, because this hijacking is obviously coming and is in place to take part into what's happening, and meaning that the human being might miss this opportunity to not only become greater than itself, but also to grow and to be more connected with each other more than ever before.
Absolutely, you can see it around, checking the news. You can see, I was reading in Bulgaria how the paramilitary are trained to block immigration, So what's happening, all of a sudden with immigration? Yeah, now a group of people have been put against another. But the scenario is quite something we know about it. We know about the war between Christian and Muslim, and the north or the south. We all getting that, And what we can see right now, all these elements are put in play all together. At the same time, you have the Palestine and Israel. We can see what's happening. We can see the brutality of Israel. We can see what is happening in Congo with the killing. We can see so much. At the same moment, we're seeing the rise of consciousness at the level never known to the modern time. We also see the level of justice going high. At the same time, we see witnessing the kind of Nazi power coming back, where people are I impose think they should do. We living what someone we call strange time, but I call it a very particular time, because we are put in front of a situation where we are forced to work. We are forced to understand the true power of the earth, of our heart. And the heart is a magnetic charge power connect to the mother, the only goddess, the mother goddess. If there are any god that has a mother, you can't have a son without a mother, isn't it? So it's the way we think in Kemetic science and spirituality. What I want to bring forth in here is that this is a time where we need to go above all the labels. This is the time where we need to reach each one a hand, to hold each one a hand, and to express the the higher vibration of our heart. We need to grow behind the show that's given in front of our eyes, front of our eyes. So this is the show of separation and reclusion, the show of isolation, the show of danger that brought in a lot of fear, a lot of frustration, a lot of confusion, and the way we go with it, the consciousness we having won't matter. Won't matter at all. The consciousness we're having now will matter if we become aware of what we have in our heart is important and is the only thing that impact our reality. If we have fear, if we have frustration, if the sense of justice we having is the hand killing, betrayal, if we all those that thing we can have, that we see expressing in many community right now. Each one is against another one. Those when we think that we're achieving something, we don't know, and what we don't understand is that we're being played one more time. We're being played one more time. We need to go over our separation. We need to go over the label that have been for long time reinforced into our mind, so to make us see that we are so different from the religion perspective, race, tradition of that. I don't say you should abandon your tradition, culture, race, or I say we need to go over the label of division and express hurt love for each other. This is the way we definitely gonna save our earth, and this is what is important. Why it's important to stop the hijacking. We are facing a time of war, but it's not a war we're gonna fight out there. It's a war within yourself. To let go your frustration, you let go your anger, you let go your jealousy, and to understand we pure energy, and pure energy is about higher emotion. We need to express joy, compassion. We need to express gratitude to each other. We need to accept each other, to hold hand, knowing that is exactly what we need to save our world. Uncle Jasenab.
Do want to cheer for this great initiative, and I think it was something that was very needed as well, and it was a message that needs to be put out there, because it's important not to get lost with the noise. It's important to stay stronger, but it's also important to stay focused and not lose our eye to the prize, and not be distracted into everything else that's happening with the noise.
Absolutely. And then this is our first intro, and with this I will share what is happening. I will take my share of the pain and of what is happening in Palestine, with the hope to transmit it into pure love, pure energy of love. I want to take in what is happening all around the world. If we become conscious of the pain that many people are enduring at the moment, we can transmit it into love, pure love, so that the earth gonna have another chance, and we're gonna have a different life. Uncle Jasenab.